Hey, Jake Williams from Edition InfoSec here. Wanted to do a quick follow-up on the VPN filter malware. Today, GDPR Day no less, the Department of Homeland Security through US CERT issued a notification that all SOHO router users should reboot their routers to clear out malware. This is actually kind of interesting, and I would mention that there's some trade-off here. I don't disagree with this advice, by the way. This we know from the Cisco and Symantec reports on the malware that rebooting the router clears any of the stage 2 or stage 3 data that's there, any of the modules that are loaded. And again, I talked a lot more about that before. I'll post the link to that in the video comments. But I wanted to note here that this actually does, actively hurt forensics of these devices. Now, I mentioned before it was going to be difficult to do forensics on these anyway. I suspect that probably plays heavily into the plan, FBI's plan, DHS plan, whoever ultimately came up with this plan. But basically, to go ahead, I think it's the FBI originally came up with the plan. DHS propagated it to go ahead and reboot these routers. Right. So the second we reboot these, we lose evidence of any of those stage 2 modules. And so just to kind of think about this a little bit. One, we absolutely agree with that recommendation. With the caveat that if you believe that you are a targeted organization and can take that router out online and want to leave it online to maybe do some forensics on it, that might be a reason that you might not do this immediately, right? Might not reboot immediately. On the flip side, I would mention that this probably is the best for most people. I'll finally kind of wrap up here just by mentioning that this is a really interesting thing for law enforcement to say, and it is an interesting thing, again, for the FBI, because typically the FBI is all about collecting evidence, right? Again, that's what they do. They prosecute crimes. This step here, this go reboot your routers to clear any active command and control that may remain. Again, the FBI owns now that ToKnowAll.com domain. So again, at this point, it's really it's just basically policing up any remaining routers that have those stage 2 modules. Again, those could then be infected with new stage 1 modules, right? So I understand the logic here, but it's much more of a cyber protection recommendation than it is an investigative recommendation. In fact, it may actively hurt investigation pieces. On the flip side, rebooting the router does force it to then go back to the ToKnowAll.com domain, which the FBI now controls, right? So it's unclear whether this move is, specifically to break any Russian or adversary command and control. Again, we assess with pretty high confidence that it is Russia. But again, whether it's to break that command and control, whether it's to map out the number of targets that have been hit previously, or again, do they just assess that they don't want to look for any more of the stage 2 modules? Again, I theorized before that they already have a larger number than Talos. They, being the FBI and DHS, already have a larger number than Talos mentioned. Again, I think this, for me, the biggest piece that comes out of this, besides do what they say, is it's a really interesting piece to take a look at. What was the FBI's motivation here, right? So. Again, we won't know. That they certainly haven't put that out. But again, I would caution you to note that read this critically, because again, the FBI typically doesn't do cyber protection. They don't recommend cyber protection type of routines. Anyway, enough about that. Appreciate your time. Jake Williams from Edition InfoSec signing off.